Okay, today we're going to learn about the Scratch environment. Scratch is a visual programming language that MIT developed. So we're going to go to Google and just type MIT Scratch. And this is the URL for it, scratchmit.edu. And then I'm already logged in, but I'm going to create a new project. Okay, so this is our environment for creating with Scratch. Over here we have the backstage, or the backdrop, the stage backdrop. And if you want a new one, you see the little picture here. So you click that and you can choose a backdrop. If you don't like that, you can just go back and choose another one. This little fellow right here, the little kitty cat, is our sprite. So in this case, I only have one sprite, and you see him up here. If I wanted to add another sprite, I could choose him right here by clicking on the little head, and then I could choose any of these other elements that I wanted to choose to go on there. I lost my backdrop. Okay. So that's the backdrop, and you get to it again by clicking on the little picture. You can change the colors in your backdrop. You can upload something, a file of your own that you want to use as the backdrop, or you could take a picture that you used. Same with the sprite. You can color your sprite, you can upload a new file, or you can take a picture that you want to use as a sprite. Now I'm going to see the tabs up here. Now I have not saved this, so if you were really going to do something with this, then you would want to go ahead and save it, because you don't want to lose the work that you're doing. But you see here, you've got tabs for scripts, backdrops, and sounds. So let's look at the scripts. In motion, we have motion. We have to be on our sprite, and then we see the motion. And you can make the sprite move 10 steps. So I'm going to pull move 10 steps over. And then we can have him turn if he gets to the edge, we can have him bounce. And then we've got looks, so we can make the cat say hello, or whatever we wanted to him. You can show and hide things. All of these are different commands you can use for looks. Then you've got sounds. If you want the cat to play the sound meow, for instance, or play some kind of musical note, you could do that. There's a pen. So in the computational thinking exercise that we did in class on Monday, the pen was being used that drew those different shapes that you were able to figure out what it was drawing. Data just allows you to make variables and do more like you're really programming, instead of using these pre-programmed events that are already in here, and like the motion and looks. Now, my cat's not going to do anything because I don't have a start. So I can start it with a flag, which is what would normally happen. But it could be when the space key is pressed, or when the sprite is clicked, or when the backdrop switches to some other color. So all of these are considered events. So now let's just see what happens if we click the flag over here with our little sprite. You see that he moves just a little bit because we're only having him move 10 steps. If I change this and I make him move 100 steps and I click the green flag, then he moves a little bit further and he still says hello. Okay, notice that this time when I clicked it, because I had him moving 100 steps, he flipped upside down. If he's on the, because of the command that says if you're on the edge, bounce. But now he's walking upside down. But you could keep making him go. You also have controls. So I can pull the control over here and it wraps around some of the commands, whichever commands I want it to wrap around. And now he's going to continue to do that for 10 times. And then he'll stop. I could tell him to do it forever and he would just keep on walking and turning upside down and walking upside down if I wanted to. But this is the basic features. These are the basic features of Scratch. You you have these sensing features, so when the space key is pressed or the mouse is pressed down, if it's touching something, if it's touching the mouse pointer, all these things you can change. Now let's go back to the controls for a second, and you see the if-then statements like we talked about in class. There is a depressed area here, and so you can take an operator and put in an operator that says if this is happening, if something is less than 5, for instance, then you want it to continue, something to continue happening. So that's a combination of using the control and using your if-then statement. So we have sensing, we have the operators, and then you can create blocks if you wanted to. So now I'm going to go to a project that I created earlier that is a bouncing ball. And if you click on the C inside the bouncing ball, then you will see all the steps and what happens. Okay, I have this backdrop, this the brick wall with the sidewalk, and I have 2 different balls. So you see that if I'm using the when the flag is clicked as my start. So when you click, it's going to switch the backdrop to brick wall 1, and it's going to show it. Then it's going to set the size of the ball, decrease the size of the ball to 75%. It's going to play a drum, and then it's going to move 20 steps. If it's on the edge, it's going to bounce just like we had the cat bounce. And then if it's touching basketball too. So if this ball touches this ball, then it's going to change the size by 1 and play a cheering sound. If the size gets greater than 250, then it's going to switch the backdrop to next backdrop and hide and then stop. So let's see what happens. So that was the end of this silly little program, but it was just to demonstrate what the different commands can do. So now you are going to have an assignment. The first thing you need to do is go to Scratch and create yourself a profile. So you just so that you'll join Scratch, so that you can then go in and create a project. When you create your first project, you're just going to add a backdrop and 2 sprites, and then make some motion, and it doesn't matter what the motion is. And then you're going to save that and share it, and copy and paste the link into a Word document so that I can access it. You have to be sure to share your project though, or I won't be able to access it so that I can grade it. But anyway, just play around with Scratch and have some fun with it. Okay, I will see you next Monday.